welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They are open for sales and service Monday through Saturday, and of course they're open all the time by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com, the only place I've gone for my vehicle for over a decade, and I cannot thank them enough for all of the wonderful vehicles I've had, including my wonderful Honda CR-V, my black on black on black. Love my Honda CR-V, and appreciate you so very much over at Great Lakes Honda City. Shout out to the wonderful team that has helped me over the years, including most recently with Elijah, Malik, and Mark. So much appreciation to all of you. Make sure you head out to 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York today to Great Lakes Honda City. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the broadcast, we thank you for being with us. Of course, we are live on MixLR.com /WakeUpCallDT on live internet streaming radio as well. So thank you so much for tuning in to the show, however you're tuning in, and from wherever you're tuning in. Inside of MonPausPopcorn.com is what's popping, giving you the list of topics for the day. We will be beginning today's show, as we always do on a Friday, with the annoying moment of the week, proudly presented by the Baked Potato Express. Then we'll jump into Lead, Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver is the acronym, and that is presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero. I'll announce my top dog of the week, proudly presented by K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, and we'll round things out with Dave Pasiak joining the show once again. My resident basketball analyst will be joining me following Game 6 that forced a Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs, and on the other side, the Knicks sweeping the Cleveland Cavaliers to advance and relax before the NBA Finals, as they have some time with the Thunder and the Spurs continuing to duke it out all the way to Game 7, which surprised me not at all. I thought this series was going to go 6 or 7. Definitely not surprised that it went the entire distance. So we will not know the champion of the West until, this weekend? And then from there, we will move on to the NBA Finals. So Dave is going to be with us to talk about all things NBA in just a little bit at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, so we look forward to that. So with that being said, and without further ado, let's jump into the annoying moment of the week, proudly presented by the wonderful team at the Baked Potato Express that is led by Dylan Husted. You can go over to the Baked Potato Express when you are out at the Lakeview Amphitheater throughout this spring and summer, enjoying all those concerts. Guess who's going to be there feeding you? The Baked Potato Express. On Wednesdays, when you go to Great Northern Mall and you're there with the food trucks, guess who's going to be there to feed you? The Baked Potato Express. And when you head out to the New York State Fair this year, guess who's going to be there to feed you? The Baked Potato Express. And if you'd like them to feed you at your event, email them at thebakedpotatoexpress@gmail.com. That's thebakedpotatoexpress@gmail.com. Reach out to them, let them know the event that you have going on, and see if they have the opportunity in their schedule, because they do get busy. So I'd email them now. Go to Gmail, or go to your email right now and email the Baked Potato Express at thebakedpotatoexpress@gmail.com. Send them a message and see if they can be out to your event and feed you there as well. Much appreciation and much respect to the Baked Potato Express and all the work that they do, and always proud to shout them out here on the show, including in the annoying moment of the week, exclusively brought to you by the Baked Potato Express. So with that being said, what is my annoying moment of the week this week? What could it possibly be? Well, it could be a few things. So I just had surgery, right? And I'm not going to say that that's an annoying moment, because it's something that had to happen. So I'm not mad about it. I'm not upset. I like my doctor, like the people that were taking care of me, love the way I was treated at the hospital. So all good things there. And I hope that that's the same case for everybody. And if it's not, then I hope it will be. So I feel very blessed and grateful for the staff that was there taking care of me at the hospital, and everybody that continues to look after me and make sure I'm okay. And my parents have taken care of me this entire week. My dog has been taking care of me in her sweet and wonderful and consistently beautiful way. So it's none of that. I would have to say that as I'm home and I've been trying to get better, I'm here, right? I haven't been able to go out and drive or do any of that stuff. So I've been hanging out at the house and, and then going to the studio. And so not too much going on during the day except for kind of sit, relax, watch TV, walk around for a little bit, make sure you get the body flowing. And that's pretty much it. That's what's being asked of me. So I'm watching TV, right? I'm trying to find some good shows and I'm trying to, just relax and watch some of that. Well, let me tell you something. So the internet that we pay for, that we pay probably more than we should, that internet was working in my outdoor oasis. So I have this thing that my dad and Casey, shout out to Casey, shout out to my dad, that they put together, they built and got it all assembled outside. Perfect timing because didn't know I was going to have surgery. And then, here I am having surgery and now I can go outside, be in the outdoors, enjoy the weather, enjoy the views, enjoy the smells and just the beauty and the breeze. But then at the same time, have like an outdoor living room, if you will. And so the TV's out there and the internet worked. My dad and I have watched a bunch of things out there. And then, so, I go out there this past week, because I had surgery last Friday. I was actually I was on my way to get surgery at this time last week. So, man, how quick a week goes by. God bless. May time slow down for us all so that we can truly enjoy it and not have our lives pass us by. In Jesus' name, I pray for that. Amen. God bless. So, yeah, last week, I'm on my way to have surgery, and here I am this week. So over the past week, been sitting outside, turn the TV on. I got to catch up on The Mandalorian because I didn't watch season 3, and I'm really excited about going to see the movie. And I made a prediction about Grogu and about this whole why even introduce the character and what does it mean for the movies and the future of Star Wars. I made a prediction a couple of years ago, at least a couple of years ago, if not longer, about it. So I want to go see the movie, see if my prediction's real. And I need to finish season 3. So, that and other things that I want to watch. So I go outside. The internet's not working outside. It tells me that it can't connect, or it tells me the signal's poor. And I go, okay, well, I'm outside instead of inside. So maybe that's why. But the signal's worked every other time. And it's worked in the Oasis. It's not like it didn't work before we built the thing, or it's not like it worked before we built the thing and now it doesn't. So I'm bringing the TV, like the TV's in the same place, in the same location, under the same roof, with the same, setup, and it's not working. And then it says it works, and then it doesn't work. So I don't know what's going on, and I'm really hoping that, it figures itself out. Maybe I have to reset the modem. I don't know. Maybe I'll try that. But it's moments like that where you're like, okay, everything worked fine. Everything was good. And then you go out and you do the exact same thing. And I was talking to somebody about this, actually Corey Taylor, when we were setting up the Zoom, because his camera wasn't working. And he's like, I literally was on Zoom recently. I don't understand what's going on. And I told him, I said, technology will change itself without us doing anything. You'll have the settings on your computer for the last 6 months, and then it's 6 months and a day. And then that 6 month and a day, the computer will go, I'm going to change a bunch of things, and I'm going to see if this dude can find it. I'm going to see if this lady can figure out where I decided to change myself. The TV, the internet, the Roku, exact same setup. Yet, it's going, can't read your internet. Not going to do it. So, to me, that was an annoying moment of the week because why technology? If we do the same thing that worked before, why wouldn't it work again? And I think we've all been through that, right? The printer works for 3 years and then it doesn't work today. So if you're having technical difficulties, I feel bad for you, son, but hopefully you don't have 99 problems, and hopefully technology isn't one. That's what I would say. So let's get into my other annoying moment of the week. What would be another annoying moment of the week that I feel like I need to share with you today? I would have to say the fact that we don't have styrofoam cups in the state of New York. I've made jokes about it, but I think it's one of the dumbest things that we could have done. Like, styrofoam keeps our drinks colder than paper cups. And New York State got rid of styrofoam because that's what our politicians were working on so desperately. Not poverty, not taxes, none of those things. Not the fact that you rip up every single highway in Syracuse at the same time. None of that. But styrofoam cups. Those were the things that were keeping us from being a strong state. And I don't understand the benefit. I really don't. I don't understand it. Now, some people might say they're bad for the environment. And I would say, okay, this is how I look at things. I don't think styrofoam cups are bad to the environment. I think human beings are bad to the environment. Okay? Because if a styrofoam cup is more apt to kill a turtle than a paper cup, how is it even getting into the water if not for a human being who can't get it into the trash? So I've said that before when New York State was like, no more plastic bags, paper bags. And I was like, why? Well, because it's not good and it's getting into the human beings are the ones doing it. You think human beings aren't going to throw paper bags out the window? A human being that's a slob, a human being that's lazy, a human being that doesn't care will take a plastic bag, a paper bag, a styrofoam cup, a paper cup, and do the same thing with it. They won't throw it in the trash. So why punish all of us who want to keep our drinks cold and like our plastic bags because some of us are lazy and some of us don't care? See, my thing was never that pollution is the problem. It's that people are the problem because the people are the ones that pollute. Does that not make sense to you? Have you not gone to like Walmart or Target or something like that, and you go to the garbage outside and people have put garbage next to the garbage? They got it all the way there and then they put it on the ground. And some people say, well, Dan, maybe the garbage was full. Maybe it was. Here's the thing. If the garbage is full, why would your brain tell you to put your garbage on the ground? Does wind not have a factor in your life? Do you not think that maybe somebody would hit it? Maybe somebody would touch it. Maybe someone's little kid would pick it up. Take your trash, put it in the garbage. It's not that. I wonder who was raised by like Gollum from Lord of the Rings and who was raised by a human person. Because I can't, for the life of me, understand how people can't take their carts and put them in the cart return and take their trash and put it in the garbage. That doesn't make sense to me. So when you talk about losing styrofoam cups as an entire state, and now we can't keep our drinks cold, I turn around and say, well, why? And they say, well, Dan, to help the environment. And I say, well, why? And they say, well, Dan, because they were getting into the water. And I say, well, how? And they say, well, because human beings. And I go, there's your problem. It wasn't the styrofoam cup. It was the humans. Because, you know, people make fun of the state of Florida. Right? Florida man. You can look up any day of the year and there's some Florida man story and they make fun of Florida and this, that, and the third. Yet Florida's got people running to it in droves. Florida is consistently building in order to house the people that are trying to go there. Florida is allegedly taking their taxes and what they're pushing on people. They're taking all that stuff down, right? They're lowering those things. Florida has styrofoam cups, and Florida's got more chances to get to the water than we do here in upstate New York. We can go to the Finger Lakes. We can go to Sylvan Beach, if you think that's an actual beach, which I don't. And it's no offense to the people that live in Sylvan Beach. Just beaches are not that dark brown. It's terrifying. Anywho, but we don't really have the access to water like Florida does. Yet Florida has styrofoam cups. So if styrofoam cups were the worry of the world when it came to getting into the water supply, why does the place surrounded by water have cups, and us here in New York State that don't have that access to water can't have styrofoam cups? Because our politicians thought that it would be a good idea to get rid of them. Do you realize that some politicians' claims to fame in New York State are getting rid of plastic bags and styrofoam cups? So when I go to Pennsylvania or I go to Florida and they give me a styrofoam cup, which keeps my drink cold for like almost the entire day, as opposed to a paper cup that even if you try to insulate it inside of another paper cup, keeps things cold for like an hour, 2, maybe. You cannot make paper styrofoam. You can't. You can't do it. And you can't make a paper bag make sense when I'm trying to put it in my garbage in my bathroom. Listen, I don't know if it's an Italian thing. I don't know if it's middle class, blue collar. I don't know what you call it, or if it's just being resourceful, which I think is what it is. But growing up as a family, we would go to the grocery store. And then when we had to refill a bathroom trash can or a trash can in our bedroom, the little trash cans, not the normal trash can in the kitchen, but when you had to refill a small trash can in my household growing up, we took the plastic bags that we got from Wegmans or the whatever grocery store, and we repurposed them in the bathroom. We repurposed them with the small waste bins, right? And that's how it was. And then in their infinite wisdom, New York State was sitting around having a meeting, not about taxes, not about important things, but about plastic bags because they were ruining the world, and allegedly. And so, and they decided to get rid of plastic bags. And I said, so what am I supposed to do with my garbage, with my trash can in the garbage, or my trash can in the bathroom? And people were like, well, Dan, you know that you've always been able to buy small trash bags. I'm not buying more things, okay? We save money where we can. Plastic bags did the solid. They carried our groceries, repurposed in our small trash bins, okay? They had multi-purposes. Aren't we supposed to reduce, reuse, recycle? So I went to the grocery store, and I took those plastic bags, and I made them my trash can bags for the small trash cans in the house, in the bathrooms, and wherever else. So was I not doing my job? Was I not doing my 1/11th on the team, so to speak, if you think of like an NFL team? Was I not doing my part? So because other people were not reduce, reuse, recycle, it's my fault? And you actually decided as a politician that that was a good idea to make us spend more money in the grocery store. So no, when I go down to Florida, I get a bunch of plastic bags. When I go to Pennsylvania, I get a bunch of plastic bags. You would not believe how excited I am to have my plastic bags. My brother Jason, I think on one of the shows, he had a bunch of plastic bags and he showed them to me. He goes, I know you think that these are gold. They're like gold bricks to you. And they are. So that is an annoying moment of the week that we can't have styrofoam cups. Now we can kind of have plastic. I don't know how this works out because New York State got rid of plastic bags and the grocery stores don't have plastic bags. Target doesn't have it. Walmart doesn't have them. Wegmans doesn't have them. However, if you go to a Chinese restaurant, they will give you a plastic bag. I don't know how they became an island on their own. It's like in upstate New York, it's the Independent People's Republic of China because they can give you plastic bags. So to the Chinese restaurants that still have plastic bags, God bless you and thank you. I appreciate it. And your smiley face plastic bags go and service my trash cans. They help out my trash cans. So I appreciate that very much. But yeah, that's an annoying moment that we can't have styrofoam cups and plastic bags. Like how idiotic is that? That's so stupid to me. And it makes no sense. And they say it's to help the environment. But how about human beings help the environment? By the way, if most decisions being made for all of New York State are being made in New York City is one of the dirtiest places that I've been to. When you're walking in the streets, if it rains in New York City, I truly believe that the rain hits the ground and all of all of the dirty germs that are on the ground, they just like come up into the air. As the rain hits the ground, it raises up the germs, and that's how people get sick. I am a firm believer that if it rains in New York City, you should stay inside. Because I just feel like it's so easy to get sick out there because there's just gross all over the place. Now, I like visiting New York City. I like how aesthetic New York City is. I love, watching a movie or a TV show or something in New York City. Beautiful. I love that the Avenger Tower and, the Stark Tower, the Avenger Tower, Oscorp, the Baxter Building for the Fantastic Four, that, this is all in movies, uses New York City. I think New York City is beautiful in a lot of ways, but it's also dirty. So I would tell the politicians that spend most of their time in New York City and don't care about upstate New York to, one, care about all of New York State or give up your job. And two, if you're representing the entire state. And then two, to that, I would say to you, clean up your dirty city, and then let's talk. Because whether it's a paper cup or a styrofoam cup, it's usually on your ground. Like, New York City is dirty. It's dirty. And that's not me disrespecting New York City. That's me talking about it. I don't think anybody from New York City should be offended. You know that the streets in New York City are dirty. You know they are. There's smells to New York City that make you want to hold your breath. You honestly feel like hepatitis has a smell in New York City. So it's confusing to me that politicians making decisions for the entire state are making those decisions inside of a dirty city and then telling us how to clean up upstate New York by taking our styrofoam cups and our plastic bags. You didn't know I cared about it this much, did you? But I do. So, but I mean, listen, it's true. We're inconvenienced. My trash can, inconvenienced by these laws. My drink staying cold, inconvenienced by these laws. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane to go to another state and feel like you're in a totally other country when you're like, oh, wait, you guys still have all this stuff? That's so weird. We lost the rights to it. 50 states, and some of them have cold drinks and places and things to utilize for their small trash bins. The rest of us, our drinks are lukewarm or warm, and we're supposed to go out and buy more things in the grocery store, which I'm not going to do. I'm not going to do it. It's not going to happen. Okay? Especially with the grocery and didn't they tell us like grocery prices were going down? Didn't Wegmans say they're going to have their hot prices? And I will give Wegmans credit. I will. The fruit sometimes stays down. I don't know what drugs people are on that the blueberries were $7.99, but we're talking not organic. We're talking about like regular stuff here. The raspberries are $2.99. The strawberries are $2.99 or $3.99 for the big one. Fantastic. Wegmans, shout out to you for that because you did you did well and did the hot price, whatever you want to call it. Thank you. But why were your blueberries $7.99? That was confusing to me. But Walmart saying we're going to roll it back. Remember the rollback prices? Remember Walmart used to take and they would have the prices and they'd put them out there and they put the signs up, but you could like roll it back yourself. Like if something would say roll back to $10 and then you could roll it back to like $1 because they didn't lock in. Maybe it was just the Walmart I went to, but they didn't lock in it was like on a notebook, right? The spiral. So you could pull the numbers back yourself if you wanted to, mess around with prices there. But Walmart was supposed to roll back prices. I don't know if that's been happening. Hopefully it has. But, let's try to be a little bit nicer to those of us that are out here because I think it's important to roll these prices back, right? We've been paying a lot of money for groceries. I went and got my protein bars. I got a poke bowl, like a shrimp. It's like the one that I get is like a deconstructed sushi, like a California roll, but it has edamame and onion. It's really good. And so I got that. I got my protein bars. I got a few things that fit into one bag. It was $80. It was $88. It was $88. For $88 growing up, I would have had meals for a week. And I called my mom and my dad and I go, how is this $88? In what world? So bring back styrofoam cups to New York. Bring back plastic bags to not just Chinese restaurants in the state of New York. And maybe, just maybe, roll them prices back and keep them back. Because I know every business is trying to make money, but you can't make any money if we can't come shop. So you need us. And the consumer always gets punished, right? Whoever jacks up a price, then that gets passed along from business to business to business to business, eventually to the consumer. And then the consumer gets punished. Well, if we decided to stop getting gas at your place, shopping at your store, going to that grocery place, if we decided to stop doing those things, what are you going to do? So maybe, just maybe, be that business that's not being the one that's attacking the bank account of everybody. Like my business, I didn't raise any of my prices during COVID. I didn't. There are companies that have worked with me for years and I've locked in their price. I've locked in their price for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. Some people would say I'm nuts. I would say to you, hey, I'd rather be the one company that doesn't punish my businesses that work with me than be the company that's doing what every other business is doing, which is saying the cost of living is going up, so screw you. I don't want to do that to people. I don't want to. And some people might think that that's nuts, but I don't believe in punishing. I don't believe in passing the buck and passing the buck and passing the buck and passing the buck, because I don't like when it happens to me. And I am that type of person where if I don't want you to do it to me, why would I do it to you? So if I, as a business owner, can be gentler on your bank account than the other businesses out there, why wouldn't I do the thing that I would hope that a business would do for me, that I would like the grocery store to do for us, that I would like the gas station to do for us? Okay, they tell us we're at war, gas went up. What about when we're not at war? What about last year when gas prices were this high? We weren't at war. What about during a different administration when the gas price jacked up and was like $2, $3 more a gallon than with the former president? We weren't at war. So you tell us that it's war. You tell us that it's the Middle East. And I say to you, I think that's BS. I think you do what you want to do. Because for the 4th of July, watch, gas prices will go down because they want people to travel. They've done it before. They've dipped the price during a holiday. They've dipped the prices randomly at different times. I remember, this was crazy. Joe Biden came to Syracuse and the gas price, I'm not even kidding with you, the gas price was at like a certain amount. I can't remember the exact amount. I want to say maybe, let's just say it was like $3.29. When he left, it was $3.79. Like the gas went up 40 or 50 cents a gallon. I'm like, did he drive around upstate New York and go, oh, they're paying way too low? Like, I mean, that's what it felt like. And he might have not, like he might have not even paid any mind to it, but it was just weird. It's like he came to town and our gas was at a certain price. He left and it shot up. And I was like, man, that's kind of ridiculous to me. But, and that's the thing though. And they blame the current president, but they don't blame the last president. But the gas prices shot up when that other president took over too. So, I mean, to me, it's like people kind of show their colors. They show kind of who they voted for and who they like and who they don't like, because they'll yell at somebody for something that they didn't yell at somebody else for. Or they'll hold someone accountable for something that they didn't hold somebody else accountable for. Gas prices have been this high multiple times, and it had nothing to do with the current president. And that's not me picking a side. That's me having eyes and a brain. So I don't understand how people can like lose logic and lose, when you see something with your own eyes, when you hear something with your own ears, how do you not believe it? You know what I mean? Like faith is belief without evidence. And then when you have the evidence, people don't want to believe it. But for anybody out here thinking gas being $4.59, that this is the first time it's happened in your lifetime, unless you were born yesterday, it's not true. So, I mean, it's just crazy. But again, annoying moment of the week, there's enough put on people that I think you can give us styrofoam cups and plastic bags. And unfortunately, you have to treat adults like children. You have to go, if we give these back to you, you have to throw them out. Okay, can you promise? It's like, are we in kindergarten right now? Styrofoam cups and plastic bags are not the problem of the sea turtle. The problem of the sea turtle is the fact that human beings don't take care of their garbage. Throw it out, okay? And politicians, for the love of goodness, when you're down in New York City talking about the state of affairs for the entire state of New York, one, care about the rest of New York that isn't the island, and two, maybe do something other than talk about styrofoam cups. That could be great for all of us. I mean, I think. That's just me. That's just me. I mean, New York State's had a lot of problems for a long time. And New York City, which I go to every single year, seems to have problems that it didn't have before. And if I were a politician, I would be thinking about how did we go from bad to worse and how do we get better, as opposed to let's just pretend like it's not happening. Because to me, that's not right. And listen, there are politicians in the state of New York that are doing a great job. And there's politicians in the state of New York that are asleep at the wheel, it feels like. But at the end of the day, if we're all New Yorkers, why can't we all be represented? Hashtag bring back styrofoam cups. Long hashtag, still an important one. We'll take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. This has been the annoying moment of the week. That was a lot of annoying moments, proudly presented by the Baked Potato Express. Bring back styrofoam cups. Are you with me? Be with me. So make sure the Baked Potato Express, when you're out in upstate New York and in central New York, that you go and pay them a visit. You can get my Wake Up Call breakfast potato only at the Baked Potato Express trucks riding around the community of central and upstate New York all throughout this beautiful season. And of course, if you want them at your event, make sure you send them an email and put in a request. thebakedpotatoexpress@gmail.com. That is thebakedpotatoexpress@gmail.com. Email them while we're on break right now, and we will be back here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios right after this. Stay with us.
Avicoli's restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on in to the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K-9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry-loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K-9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's K9, KAMP ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily?
Hello, this is Dylan Husted, the owner of the Baked Potato Express. We do mostly big festivals or big corporate like private events. Typically just big festivals such as like Taste of Syracuse, a food truck battle, Battle of the Wings. I do the state fair. They're ordering from a fresh food truck that is making real food and happy to make it and wants them to enjoy every bite. We season every potato before they go in the oven, and then they bake for an hour, and when they come out, we season them again after we cut them. We use real butter, real cheese, real ingredients, so it's all really good food and people love it. We have a lot of returning customers and regulars that we see very often. The customers really make a big impact, and this is a big food truck community. The events here are super busy. It's like in my blood. I like building things and creating stuff that people love, and me and my friends are the ones that run the truck, so it's kind of, we keep it's a tight circle in there, and we have like a family sort of oriented truck, and it's a lot of fun, and we have a good time doing it, and people love our food, so it ends up making it well for everybody. You can contact the Baked Potato Express at thebakedpotatoexpress@gmail.com or the Baked Potato Express on Instagram or TikTok. We are very happy to be partnered up with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as the exclusive sponsor of the Annoying Moment of the Week. And be sure to try DT's baked potato creation at all of our food trucks. The Baked Potato Express. Let's get baked.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. And now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. You know, we want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to a Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I mean, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. I mean, you can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, you know, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, you know, everyone in the world is going to sell a pizza or a burger or a french fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, you know, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place. And I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. A delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Kaz location and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point because you get a little something different at each one. You know, we understand how hard it is to, you know, work every day and get after it every day, and when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They are open for sales and service Monday through Saturday. And of course, they're open all the time with all their inventory on the website, GreatLakesHondaCity.com. That is GreatLakesHondaCity.com. So make sure you check them out there for all of the information, as well as a look at what they have available to you for new and used vehicles and what you can buy and lease at Great Lakes Honda City today. Jumping into Lead, Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver. That is the acronym here on the show. Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver. Lead, proudly presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero, a segment that I created right before COVID. I came up with an idea late 2019, and then I look back on it and I say, God, not only did you help me find that acronym, because I was like, I need a word that's strong in and of itself, and then a word that we can break down and have each of those letters have strength to them as well. And then you think back to COVID times and you say, man, you got to learn. We had to evolve. We had to ad-lib a lot. And we had to deliver, right? Deliver on promises to ourselves, to each other. Deliver. Keep showing up, right? Keep going. It was perfect timing, because God's timing is always better than ours. And Chick-fil-A Cicero, caring about God, caring about faith, sharing that with the world. I appreciate so much. And it starts with owner-operator Jim Rusakowski. Today's topic is your relationship with God. Do you have one? See, here's the thing about your relationship with God. If you don't have one right now, that's okay, because you can make one. You can start one. You can create one. Just because you don't have a relationship with God right now in this moment doesn't mean that this isn't the perfect moment to start having a relationship with God. We all need God, whether we admit it or not. We all do. Because if we have a lot of success and our ego takes over, that could be a downfall. With God, you take the ego out and you keep God first. You don't let the moments of success eat away at your character. God helps with that. When you're going through strife, pain, something hard is happening in your life, adversity, without God, that storm can feel suffocating. You can feel like you're drowning. God is your life raft. See, going in for surgery last week, I wanted to make sure I prayed with my parents before I went in. And I did. We prayed. I pray all the time. But I was thinking about it after the fact, and I'm like, man, why didn't I pray more? And it wasn't that I didn't care. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, well, you prayed with your parents. But it's like, yeah, why didn't I pray when, they were taking me, right? And I'm going down the hall. And I was going in for surgery. Why didn't I pray in that moment? And I was sitting there thinking to myself, because you trust him. Because you trust him. You prayed with your mom and dad, and then you trusted him. You didn't keep repeating yourself. You said it, you prayed it, and you left it in his hands. There's a trust that when you have it with God, it's the good chill. I call it the good chill. You know, when your body gets a chill and you feel it, and you know when it's like a not a good feeling. Well, there's a thing called the good chill, which I have actually felt while I've been talking with you about this morning. And it's not a feeling, it's not like a up your spine or down your spine feeling of discomfort. It's not a feeling of coldness. It's a feeling of I'm doing the right thing, I'm saying the right thing, I'm sharing something important. I'm in tune with God, I'm locked in with God. And he's telling me so. He's telling me, hey, Daniel, yes, you do trust me. I didn't always feel that way. Man, the last time I went into surgery, I didn't trust him as much as I do now. I wasn't as calm as much as I am now. I was at peace when I went into surgery this time. And thankfully, God, I haven't had a lot of surgery, and I pray that I don't have to. I pray that none of us do. By the grace of God, if we never have, I hope we never have to. And if we have, I hope we never have to again. God bless to everyone out there. In Jesus' most precious name, I pray for us all to be well and to stay well. And if we're not completely well right now, to get well and to stay well. I do pray that in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name, most precious. Amen. For everyone, myself included and my loved ones included. There is a peace that the world can't give you. There's a peace that having enough money can't give you. There's a peace that having a bunch of cars in your driveway can't give you. There's a peace that no matter how many trips you go on to exotic places can't give you. There's a peace that having that relationship with that man or woman that's so beautiful or handsome or wonderful can't give you. You know, God is the only one that can give you true peace, true faith, true trust, true happiness. And you say, well, Dan, how do you know that? How do you know that? You say, Dan, I've been through tragedy. God wouldn't let that happen. And I would say to you, you think I know why my grandfathers died when I was 6? I don't know why. But I went from thinking that's not fair to saying that was his will, that was his plan. Well, Dan, how can you be okay with it? I wasn't okay with it. It was the maddest I've ever been at God. I was mad. I never left. I never left him. I never went to the other side, and I never will. I was just mad. I didn't turn my back completely on God, but I was turned probably 3/4 of the way. And you say, well, how did you get through it? Time, prayer, and the fact that God sent me my grandfathers in I don't know if you want to call it a daydream, but I saw them go to heaven. They spoke with me. God and Jesus spoke with me. I can legitimately draw you a picture of this dream that I had that was, let me think about this now, over 30 years ago. And I could draw it for you, piece by piece. I saw other relatives go into heaven. So, and that was almost immediate after my second grandpa passed away. But how did you find peace? I just did. I think about them every day. The representation of my grandfathers is right off camera. This sits right off camera in my studio. I look at them every day, every time I'm broadcasting. This is my grandfather's forklift, obviously a mini rendition. When he worked at Miller and he retired from Miller Brewing Company, they gave him this in his cake because he used to drive a forklift. And you can see there's still kind of like remnants of it, that it was colored a little bit by the icing and whatnot. He took this out of his cake, and there was icing on the wheels, and he handed it to me, and I was eating the icing, and there was icing all over this thing. And my grandmother took it away from me, and she goes, "Ralph," to my grandpa, she goes, "You can't give him all that icing. That's too much." And he goes, "Okay." She's like, "Well, if you want, wipe it off and then give it back to him." And my grandfather had it, and he didn't really wipe it off, and he just handed it to me again. And when he passed away, this was one of the things this is what I wanted when I saw it, because it was something that he gave to me. So I wanted to keep it because he gave it to me. So that's from my Grandpa Tortora, who I call Pop Miller. And this is from my Papa Cavino. This is my mom's dad. And you can see, if you look really closely, that it says T.A. Cavino for Thomas Archibald Cavino. This is his hat from the Navy from when he served in World War II. So those are right off camera. I literally look at them every show. And when I'm working, I see them every day, pretty much. Unless I'm traveling. But what I thought I couldn't get through years ago, I'm still here, right? I'm still alive. I made it. So when people say, "Dan, how can I love God when God doesn't love me?" And I would say, "Well, why doesn't God love you?" And they would say, "Well, if he loved me, then he wouldn't have done this to me. If he loved me, I wouldn't have cancer. If he loved me, my mom wouldn't have passed away. If he loved me, my family wouldn't have gone through this heartbreak. If he loved me, I would be married with kids right now. If he loved me, I wouldn't be pinching pennies." I think you hear that stuff a lot. If God loved me, then my life would be better. So obviously, because my life's not that great, and I perceive it that way, well, then I perceive that he doesn't love me. And I would tell you, everybody has something. If you really get to know people, everyone has tragedy. Even if they don't treat it like that, we've all been through something. Or we will go through something. And that's not me wishing bad on us, ever. Because I would prefer that we don't have to go through tragedy. But we all go through tragedy. Your favorite superhero movie? Name one of them that didn't go through tragedy. Peter Parker lost who? Uncle Ben. Before that, his parents. Most recent Peter Parker Spider-Man lost Aunt May. Right? Another Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, Gwen Stacy. Right? They go through that. Iron Man passed away in order to save everyone. We say that we don't want to go through the pain, yet the movies that we go and see by the billions and the trillions, the movies that make more money than anything else, they all have loss. You realize that? The Avatar movies, loss. Lion King, loss. Finding Nemo, literally lost his son. Before that, mom passes away. The movie Up, beginning of the movie. Should have done all these things with my wife. She passed away. Now I'm going to do them in honor of the both of us. She was an adventurer. I never wanted to go on the adventure. Now I'm going to go on it in her honor. And she'll be here with me in some way. Right? We watch and love and enjoy and are ingrained, or like we are overtaken by these stories of these superheroes. And every single one of them has suffered a loss. Right? Batman, parents passed away. Or else would he have ever become Batman? Parents were murdered. Right? And so, in order for us to truly become who we're becoming, loss is part of it, tragedy is part of it, pain is part of it. And I don't want it to be, but it is. And why do I bring this up? Because I think a lot of people lose relationships with God or don't even start them because something happened that they think that God wouldn't let happen. And I feel like that's probably the main reason why people don't believe in God, is because if God existed, then it's the if-then approach. If he existed, then this wouldn't have happened. And I can honestly tell you, I've lived an incredible life. A dang near perfect life. Not saying I'm perfect. I'm saying the life that God has given me, no complaints. But I'm single. I don't have a wife. I don't have children. I'd like to. You know? I mean, there are things in my life that I want that I don't have yet. But that doesn't mean I love God less. Now, I did question him, and I yelled, and I cried, and I repeated myself 1 billion times. Maybe 1 trillion. But I look at my relationship with God now, and I say to God, yeah, I want to be a dad. And I'd love to have a wife. But if I can't find a woman that I can trust, I don't want any of it. So it went from give me this thing to if I'm not going to get what I'm going to give, and I'm not saying you give to receive. I'm saying I don't want to be in another relationship where I can't trust, where I can't feel safe, where I can't put my head down, where I'm not appreciated. I'm not going to do it again. I would rather be alone than be disrespected. No one deserves that. Nobody does. You tell somebody that, you're hurting, and their response is on to the next subject. The last person that I dated, I told her that my friend passed away. She might have said 1 or 2 sentences and then never spoke about it again. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Do you need me? You can cry on my shoulder. I'm here for you. Not really any of that came from her. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was selfishness. I don't know if it's just I don't care. I don't know if the relationship didn't mean that much to her. I don't know if she doesn't care about people that aren't directly connected to her. I have no idea. But that should have been a sign for me that was more than enough to tell me, man, if you get punched in the gut, she might leave you on the floor. And I'm not saying I'm better than somebody else because there are times where I've been selfish. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't have second chances because sometimes people won't do something or say something not out of malice or out of anything negative, but maybe their mind was somewhere else at the time. But I will say that my life went from saying, hey, God, if you love me, then why won't you give me my wife and kids? To, hey, God, I know you love me. Because even when I screw up 1 billion times, you make my life greater. So why don't I hold my end of the bargain? Since you've held yours to the nth degree, why don't I give you me better? And let's keep being a team because we're a great team. And I love the big guy. My relationship with God is everything. It's everything. I was afraid when I was growing up as a kid, I was afraid that aliens could exist. Now we got all this stuff out here. I'm more calm now with proof, the quote unquote proof that we're seeing. I'm more calm now than I was then. So then when I didn't know or there was nothing out there, I was scared out of my mind. Now that they're saying aliens do exist, I'm at peace. Because I know God won't give me anything I can't handle. And I know that I don't go into any battle without him. There's something about getting to the other side of fear. That side that the devil doesn't want you to get to. That side where you stop blaming God, you stop getting mad at God, you stop being angry and want revenge and an eye for an eye, and the hate goes away and the negativity goes away. Some of the people that have been challenged the most that I know are the kindest hearts. The ones that believe in God and that I don't even question whether or not they believe in God. Some of the people that have had the toughest battles are the ones that I know believe in God. So how can that be? How can we have relationships with God when we didn't get what we wanted? We went through tragedy, we went through hardship. How can those of us that speak so freely, honestly, and completely about God, how can we be the ones that believe so deeply when we've been hurt? Because God doesn't exist just to bring us goodies, nice things. A true believer in God believes in God when nothing feels good, right, safe. Because we know who's with us in battle. We know who has our back. We know that miracles have already happened. Let me tell you something about my grandfathers, okay? Yes, they both passed away in 92. I was 6 years old. I thought they would be with me and watch me graduate college and get married. Yes, I was thinking those things when I was 6. I was always older than my age showed. I've always had an old soul, some people would call it. But let me tell you about the miracle of my grandfathers. Let's not focus on the fact that they passed away when I was 6. Let's focus on the fact that they didn't pass away when they could have. What did I tell you about my grandpa Cavino? He was in the U.S. Navy in World War II. My Pop Miller, my Grandpa Tortora, he was in the U.S. Army in World War II. If either of them had died, there is no me. They both fought in the last time the world was at war. They fought at a time of uncertainty, a time that a lot of people might feel couldn't possibly be real, with the millions of people whose lives were lost within just a few years. How many countries fought against each other? The poverty, the angst, the concern, the fear that people had. And yet, if either one of them had not made it home, I'm not sitting here. So I can look up at God and say, why did I only have him on earth with me for 6 years? Or I can say, God, thank you for the miracle of taking both of my grandfathers and bringing them home so that they could be with my grandmothers, so that they could have my parents, so that my parents could have me. See, I don't look at God with anger anymore in my grandfather's passing away when I was 6. I look at God with appreciation that he allowed my grandfathers to be alive as long as they were, so that I even had a chance to meet them. Because without them coming home, without them meeting my grandmothers, without every domino falling as it did, without every God incidence and not coincidence, because it's not just sheer luck, I would not be sitting here today. So yes, I would love to be sitting with them right now physically, but I'm happy that they were here long enough on this planet to lead to the moment where I could take my first breath. God gave me 2 miracles in my grandfathers. Miracles that I will appreciate no matter how much time I've had with them on this earth. And I will see them again. That is a relationship with God that comes with trust, comes with understanding, and comes with faith, even when it's hard, and especially when it is. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios right after this.
Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry-loving friend. Right, Lily? In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Head over to GG Cards and Breaks today and make sure you let them know that DT sent you. It's a place where you get to be a big kid. And who would not want to be a big kid every single day of the year? Why would you not want to do that? So head over to GG Cards and Breaks, and you could be a big kid all the time. They're open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6, Sundays from 10 to 5 on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. And listen, folks, if you've never collected a card before, it's a great time to start because it gets you closer to the teams you love, the players that you love, and the games that you love to play. There are so many cool things at GG Cards and Breaks. From Disney, Lorcana, the Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, One Piece, as well as soccer, hockey, basketball, baseball, football. You're immersed in this world of just excitement. And there's so many people that buy, sell, and trade. That's why every other month we're at the Wildcat with the GG Cards and Breaks trade night. And we just had one last week, and it was absolutely amazing, as it always is, because the community of people are amazing. I feel so grateful and so honored and so privileged to know Josh and Anthony and the whole team at GG Cards and Breaks. It has been an amazing, exciting road, and we've only just begun. So make sure on your road trip today, you head over to 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, and see what I'm talking about and have some fun at GG Cards and Breaks. Let that kid spirit fly free over at GG's. Big time shout out and big time thanks to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. Megan Sorber and her team, in their first year of being here with us in the community, are out there doing all that they can to make sure that you have a great experience with your day. When you're in your travels, whatever's going on, you stop over at Chick-fil-A in DeWitt on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard, and you're going to be having a better day today. Get their strawberry hibiscus beverages, the jalapeno ranch club chicken sandwich that you can have original style, spicy or grilled, as well as those frosted beverages and the favorites that you already love, like them nuggets. Head over to Chick-fil-A for nostalgia, where they're taking the things that you love, nostalgia, and putting a new twist on it, and of course having the favorites that are always on the menu at Chick-fil-A. Go over to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt today on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. We look forward to seeing you there. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Open for sales and service Monday through Saturday, so make sure you go and visit them on site. And of course, you can go and visit them on their website all the time by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. That is GreatLakesHondaCity.com. And we look forward to you heading over to Great Lakes Honda City onto their website, and of course to visit them in person to find your next ride or your first ride today. And we appreciate everybody that's already taken us up on that and headed over to Great Lakes Honda City. Can't thank you enough for that. And with that being said, it is time for me to announce my top dog of the week for this week. Top dog of the week, proudly presented by the wonderful team at K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. You can get in touch with them for daily care for your dog at 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110. You can get more information on the daycare by going to K-9 Kamp.com. That's K-9 Kamp.com. Who are my top dogs of the week? Well, I've honored them before, but I got to honor them in a special way this time around. It's my mom and dad. It's mom and dad. They are my top dogs of the week. I just had surgery. Like I told y'all, I'm about a full week from having that surgery because I had it at 11:30 a.m. last Friday. And my parents have been with me round the clock. So I have my own home. They have their own homes. And mom and dad have been shifting throughout the day. Mom will come visit during the day, dad at night, dad during the day, mom at night. They've been helping me make sure that the grass is cut, that there's groceries in the house, that, you know, my dog is taken care of, that I have everything that I need, that I was, you know, doing my regiment, going easy on my body. And as I continue to mend from surgery, I have to say that it would not be the same without the gracious, kind-hearted, loving, incredible parents that I have. And so, if your parents are here, or your guardians, or your grandparents, or whoever is really, really close with you, and you consider, the best of your family, be it blood or not, make sure you call them today. Go and see them, call them, text them. But I'm going to tell you in that order, see them if you can see them. If you can't see them physically today, call them. If you can't do either one of those things for whatever reason, then make sure you shoot them a message. But there is nothing better than having those under God himself. There's nothing better than having the love of really wonderful, caring beings. And I say beings because my dog's been there for me as well. And I'm going to call her a top dog of the week too, because Lily's been a little confused. She didn't know why her dad can't pick her up and why she can't sit with me a certain way like she always does. But she has been right by my side. And, the loving, caring, giant heart that she has really goes beyond. And I think it's funny because some people say, well, how can you be close to an animal when an animal can't talk? And I would say, well, aren't there some people that can't speak as well? Aren't there some people that are deaf and you can't hear their voice, yet you know that they love you? So there you go. And when some people say, how can you have brothers and sisters if you're an only child? I would say, are there not families that adopt? And can that happen that way? Well, then okay. See, my life has been filled with a whole lot of love and a whole lot of showing me that God exists. And if I'm saying top dog of the week this week, I can say mom and dad and Lily. I can also say all of my friends that reached out. I can say strangers that reached out, people I barely know that have been there. So to everybody that sent me a message, called me up on the phone, reached out to my parents and said, hey, let Dan know X, Y, and Z, I just want to say thank you. Because, this isn't a major surgery, thank God. But it was something that happened. It had to happen, and I feel better. I'm getting better. But knowing that I have the love that I have, it kind of just helps you float on air, and it helps you. It does. There is no substitute for genuine love and people that give of themselves, animals that give of themselves without asking for anything in return. So to my top dogs, my mom, my dad, Lily, and to all of you that have been so supportive and loving and caring, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart that I have felt all of it. And in those moments where I'm in pain or where it was tough, y'all helped me push forward. And so with God leading the charge and a whole lot of love surrounding me, I can honestly say that rainy day or sunny day, I got no complaints. I love you all, and you're my top dogs of the week. So that's proudly presented to you by K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. Call them today at 315-437-7110. Go visit them at 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, right across from BJ's, right down the road from Erie Boulevard, right off of Bridge Street, and you could literally see them from the highway. They're very centrally located, hard to miss, so don't miss them. K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. Find out more by going to K-9KAMP.com. And with that being said, it's time for me to have the better half of DT and DP on the broadcast right now. That is Dave Pasiak, who is here with me, hanging out where sports meets life inside of these Great Lakes Honda City studios. And Dave and I are hanging out just like the Thunder and the Spurs are hanging out. They do not want to decide this thing, folks. And it could come down to how the Cavaliers-Raptors series came down, just who gets to be home last, which is going to be Oklahoma City. So we shall see what happens here. But I can honestly tell you, as I'm talking about top dogs of the week and caring people, this gentleman who's on the screen with me, he has always been there for me. Like I said, I think he was like the first guest or one of the first guests I ever had when I came back to Syracuse and I was on the Score 1260. He has always made time, rarely said no. If he said no with something in his scheduling, we figured out a different day and a different time. So he has been consistent. He's been a great friend, a great source of wisdom and knowledge, and honestly, one of the people that I know that I can trust, that I can lean on, and one of those places that I can always go to and never have to worry, is Dave going to be there? So with that being said, I know we're going to talk about the NBA today, but I got to start it off by saying, Dave, thank you for being one of the people in my life that I never have to wonder, if I open the door, is he going to be on the other side of it? Thank you for that.
Well, appreciate the kind words, Dan, and glad to hear that you're on the mend and everything, and certainly have enjoyed our relationship and whatnot over the years, and always great to just talk sports and life with you.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're going to do today, and I appreciate your kind words as always, Dave. And so, I mean, as we go, then there's obviously two things to look at here. We're looking in the East and we're looking in the West. But as we look in the East, I want to start there since that's already been figured out. The New York Knicks have been incredible. And I don't know if a lot of people gave them a chance when they came into the postseason as the 3 seed, but they have shown that they not only earned the right to be here, but that they weren't going anywhere. They embarrassed Atlanta, and then they took it to, and I'm sorry, Philly. And then they went and made quick work of Cleveland, like Cleveland had no business being in the postseason. What can you say about what the Knicks have shown us through the 3 series that they played in?
Well, first of all, I guess you got to give credit to the Danhausen curse. So they're 11-0 since he lifted that. He put the whammy on the Cavaliers last round, but the Knicks have kind of figured it out. We talked a little bit about this before. They kind of figured it out on the fly because they were on the ropes against Atlanta, and kind of figured things out, flipped the switch in that series. And the thing that the Knicks are doing right now, they're playing with a lot of confidence. And I give credit to Mike Brown. He's a guy who, I've said it before, I was skeptical of the hire when they whacked Thibodeau. I thought they hired a guy that was too similar. Historically defensive-minded guy who wasn't very creative offensively, kind of a ceiling coach. And to his credit, they've unlocked the key offensively. Like the Knicks pre this playoff run, they could be a little bit of a tough watch, especially late in games. It was basically Brunson trying to create a shot with 4 guys standing around and watching. And they've been anything but that in this run that they've been on. Their ball movement's really been good. Brunson's still obviously the centerpiece, but they've had guys from Anunoby to Hart to they've different guys have stepped up in different games, and it's one of those things right now where the ball's moving and the ball finds the open man. And for a team that historically hadn't been very creative and had been a really predictable team offensively, I think that's been the big change with the Knicks, and I think that's fueled them defensively. The Knicks have recent history have always been pretty sound defensively. And that we expect to continue with Brown. The thing that has really impressed me is the way they've kind of come of age and evolved offensively.
Yeah, and I would say this to you: if we look at Victor Wembanyama with San Antonio, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with Oklahoma City, what they mean to their team, and how the team goes through them, flows through them. Is it fair to say, and I'm not trying to say that they're all the same player, and I'm not trying to say that they're all on the same line, but in the essence of meaningfulness to a franchise, is Jalen Brunson to the Knicks what Wemby is to the Spurs and SGA is to the Thunder?
He's approaching that territory. I think that, he's clearly still their go-to guy, and clearly has been and is their go-to guy. That said, I think the way the Knicks are playing, I think they can survive a subpar outing from Brunson. Okay. Much more so than I think the Spurs can survive. Like, Spurs are dead in the water when Wemby's subpar. The Thunder have when the Thunder have full strength, they can survive a little bit subpar from SGA, mostly because their team defense is so elite. So I think Brunson's like approaching that territory, but I hesitate to say he's quite as um, indispensable to the Knicks as certainly Wemby. Probably a closer comparison to SGA, what he means to the Thunder.
Yeah, and when you see, and I can understand that. Like you said, you think they can maybe the Knicks can get through it a little bit better than other teams can when we talk about the Spurs and the Thunder of their main guy. But I mean, when you look at Victor Wembanyama, San Antonio, I was spoiled growing up, right? I'm not a San Antonio fan, but I was spoiled watching San Antonio as a kid because David Robinson, if you know anything about basketball, you watch the Spurs, you automatically watch him play and you respect him. You respect everything that he did and what he brought to the franchise. Then there's that crossover into Tim Duncan, and then it's Tim Duncan's team, and it's like the Packers going from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. You go from great to great, and then there was a lull, right? There was that period in between where the Spurs went from David Robinson to Tim Duncan, didn't miss a beat, and they continue to be effective, and they're a championship caliber team. And then there's a time period in between, and then Victor Wembanyama, who you don't get unless you struggle and get to the top of that lottery. So what can you say to that effect? The fact that the Spurs really went from top dog to top dog and then had that kind of valley, and now they're back to a top dog again. They've been spoiled as a franchise when you look at the three players that we're talking about in David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and Victor Wembanyama, but there was that time period in between that they didn't have between Robinson and Duncan.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's really been impressive with this group of Spurs, you're right, they had bottomed out. Like, you know, last year, 13th out of 15th in the West, 14th the year before, dead last in the West the year before that. So you're right, that's a team that had kind of hit rock bottom. And, I think Pop was nearing the end of his regime and he was going through some health issues. So I think that, in the here and now on those teams certainly didn't help them. Um, but the thing that's remarkable about them is, we've talked a lot of times on here about NBA teams having to endure the struggle, and you're seeing that in, the Knicks,
Yeah.
from bottom feeder to getting in the playoffs to win a series to get to the conference finals. Now they get to the NBA finals, and you saw it a little bit more accelerated with Thunder, um, to where they were bottom feeder to knocking on the door of the playoffs to win a round to now we're to NBA champion and they're defending champions. The thing that's remarkable about the Spurs is a team this young growing up this fast, and you've almost watched it in real time in the playoffs now. Um, and you're right, San Antonio is not a market. Like the beauty of the NBA is, you got New York, major market team, but then you got San Antonio and Oklahoma City, two of the smallest um, major league sports cities in the United States, and they're probably the two best teams in the league. So I think in the NBA, nice thing about it is you don't have to be New York or LA or Chicago or whatnot or Boston to compete. I think if you got to if you the system is set up so that you can retain your guys,
Yeah.
but at the same time, when you do, I know your Raptors went through this for a bit and might be kind of like bordering on this territory now. You can get stuck in the NBA in purgatory to where you're knocking on the door for a playoff spot, or you're good enough to get in, but you're not good enough to advance, and you can kind of get stuck in that purgatory. And the Spurs all the way bottomed out, and then you get a franchise changing player like Wembanyama, and now all of a sudden you're one win from the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
So I know they just adopted a new draft lottery system, which is supposed to kind of curb the tanking and level the playing field a little bit. But the way the NBA has been set up, you got to get a little lucky with the draft. But at the same time, like some of the best players in the league were not the number 1 and 2 picks. So, like, good cap management, good player evaluation, and good player development can get you into contention in the NBA. It's ownership and cap management and player development evaluation.
Yeah, well, I mean, we look at the fact that Mikal Bridges, drafted high in the first round. Of the 3 guys from Villanova to the New York Knicks that are playing in the NBA Finals right now, Bridges was drafted the highest, but then toward the bottom of the first round, you have Josh Hart, and in the second round, you have Jalen Brunson. So to your point, those weren't the guys that people were saying, this is going to be the franchise face, this is going to change everything. I mean, there's nothing guaranteed to a player drafted in the second round, and yet Jalen Brunson is the front man for the New York Knicks right now, and he was the one of those 3 coming from Villanova drafted the farthest down the line. You brought up the lottery. You must have known I was going to talk about it, Dave. So let's take a look at where we're at here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. The NBA's Board of Governors voted on Thursday, yesterday, for those of you watching and listening live, on May 28th, to change the league's draft lottery format beginning with the 2027 NBA draft. So it will not happen this year. We're too close to this draft in 2026 for them to change anything. So it's not going to happen now, which I understand because, you know, we're on the heels of, or I shouldn't say on the heels, we're literally a couple steps away from the 2026 draft. So this is going to be for next year starting. The new format expands the lottery from 14 to 16. So the NBA draft lottery, which I always thought was 1 through 13 because it made sense, right? Lucky number 13, now goes from 14 to 16 teams will be in the lottery, the top 16, and that will be including the 8 seed in each conference's playoff picture, and adds anti-tanking measures where the bottom 3 teams are dealt lesser chances for the number 1 pick, while flattening odds for teams that do not qualify for the playoffs or the play-in tournament. It's called the 3-2-1 lottery. It was put together over the past couple of months and signifies the number of ping pong balls each of the final 3 teams will receive in the lottery. Most importantly, from the league's perspective, this new format disincentivizes teams from tanking and finishing with the worst records, which has been a problem that the league has experienced in recent years. The vote was 29-1, with allegedly only the Memphis Grizzlies voting against this new 3-2-1 lottery. Now, the league said, quote, since October, the league office has met with key stakeholders to discuss current competitive incentives and solicit ideas aimed at discouraging tanking. That process led to the creation of the 3-2-1 lottery, end quote. The league will also wield expanded disciplinary authority to address tanking, including the ability to reduce teams' lottery odds, modify teams' draft positions, and impose significant fines on offending teams as part of the new lottery format. Under the 3-2-1 format, the teams with the 3 worst records will each get 2 ping pong balls, while the teams with the 4th through 10th worst records will each get 3 balls. The 3 worst teams also will now have a floor of picking 12th in the draft, further disincentivizing them from wanting to be bad. The number 9 and number 10 play-in seeds in each conference will receive 2 lottery balls each, and the losers of the 7-8 play-in game will receive 1 lottery ball each. Previously, the league drew odds only for teams with the bottom 4 records in the league, while the other 10 lottery teams were ordered by inverse record. Under this proposal, all 16 teams would be in the drawing. One that likely will be done live next year, either going from 1 to 16, or more like it is unveiled currently from 16-1 to build more suspense. The teams will also no longer be able to get the number 1 pick in back-to-back years, meaning the Washington Wizards can't get the number 1 selection in 2027 after winning the lottery this year, and teams are also unable to have a top 5 pick for 3 consecutive years, something that would impact only the Utah Jazz in 2027. The Jazz's pick, which they have traded to the Grizzlies already, can finish no higher than 6th in next year's draft, presuming that the Jazz are in the lottery in the first place in this upcoming season. Teams will also not be able to protect picks in the 12th to 15 slots going forward, in another practice aimed at preventing teams from building in a floor for a traded draft pick, though pick protections that have already been agreed upon will remain in place. The proposal includes a sunset provision that will see this format expire after the 2029 season, right when there's an opt-out of the current collective bargaining agreement. That will give the NBA flexibility to either extend the system if it's working or potentially tear it up and replace it with something else. So I'm going to stop there because there's a lot kind of that we're working through here, Dave. But let's explain it here. Let's go to layman's terms what this means, the 3-2-1 lottery, because we're talking about, teams were decided by inverse order. Now the play-in teams are going to have this many balls, and then this one's going to have one, this one's going to have two. The bottom three teams are going to have less balls than the teams that are after them. So let's really get into what the substance of this is for the average fan to understand how the lottery is really changing.
Yeah, I think the intention of what the NBA is trying to do is it's pretty obvious. Like they're trying to disincentivize tanking, teams throwing games, teams trying to manipulate their their draft position and whatnot. So that's pretty pretty clear cut and everything. I think probably as soon as it was unveiled, every NBA team has got guys in their worker bees in their front office trying to work on the odds and manipulate and whatnot. And I think like most systems, people are going to try to figure out how they can game the system when as best they can. Work to their advantage. The reason Memphis was the one team voting no on this plan is because they've got the Utah pick and they're the one team that's impacted. That now I'm sure when they made that trade, they thought there's a pretty reasonable possibility that that they land a high pick, and that now that pick has less value than they thought it had when they made that deal. So I do think it has the potential of, like, I've always been in the camp, whether it's the NBA or the NFL or whatnot, that I think nothing sells like hope, and as a result, sometimes we overvalue the draft and draft picks and everything at the expense of actual player production. What have you done for me? Yeah. So, I do think that, that there's the possibility of that exists where perhaps there's not quite the same amount of value placed on draft picks as compared to actual player production, but that remains to be seen. I'm pretty open-minded about it. I think that certainly give let's see how it works for a couple of years. And I think the NBA, like you mentioned, they're sunsetting it in 2029 and basically giving themselves 3 years to take a look at it and see if it's actually accomplishing what the goals are. So.
Yeah, I mean, do you like the fact that the three worst teams are getting 2 ping pong balls and that the teams after them, 6 through 10, are getting 3? Do you think that that's going to be much of a difference to give one more ball to the teams that are not the worst? I should say 4 through 10 if I said 6 through 10. But do you think that is that helpful enough to say the 3 worst teams in the NBA get 1 less ball than the next, bunch of teams after them?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of incentive to not be one of the 3 worst teams, but then the other thing that's that plays into that is you can't have the 1 pick 2 years in a row, and you can't have the a top 5 pick. I think I think you can't have 3 out of 5, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how much that's going to be incentivized, especially if a team's already if you're a bad team and you had the 1 pick last year, right? You can't you can't get the 1 pick the next year. What difference does it make? So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think it's on paper, it seems to disincentivize tanking compared to the current system. Yeah. But the NBA has gone down this road. They went to the draft lottery, and there was a time where everybody, every non-playoff team had one envelope in the thing, and they spun the drum on live TV, and the corner of the envelope was bent, and the New York Knicks came out and got Patrick Ewing, and all that conspiracy stuff. Then they went to the straight odds based on where you finished, and then they tried to flatten those out a little to disincentivize tanking. So, um, it's been something that they've tried to address in the past. And, like I said, when you put a system in place, it's usually to fix a problem. And so people are going to immediately go to work on how can they best advantage themselves under the new system. In that respect, I don't think this will be any different. But maybe advantaging themselves will be trying to win as much as you can. So, um, and make moves and whatnot. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of to go over it again to break it down, as we've been talking about the new draft lottery rules that will come into effect at 2027 and be with us in the NBA for 27, 28, and 29 at least. Going to the NBA's official website, I feel like they really explained it here when we look at the 3-2-1, the flattened odds and draft relegation. Each team participating in the draft lottery, which there will now be 16 teams instead of 14, will receive 3, 2, or 1 lottery ball. That's the 3-2-1 of why it's called the 3-2-1 lottery. You're either going to have 3 balls, 2 balls, or 1. Teams that don't qualify for the NBA playoffs or the NBA play-in tournament, which means the teams that are essentially 11 through 15 in both the Eastern and the Western conferences, because you have the top 10 that make it at least to the play-in tournament in the East and in the West. And you have 30 NBA franchises, so you got 15 on one side, 15 on the other. So we're talking about 11 through 15 in the East, 11 through 15 in the West. Those teams that don't qualify for the NBA playoffs or the play-in tournament, they will receive 3 lottery balls, except the 3 worst teams in the East. Or the 3 worst teams overall, I should say, when you look at the East and West in total. So when we look at our teams that didn't make it to the play-in tournament or to the NBA playoffs, these are the teams we're talking about that are going to get 3 balls in the new lottery system. Unless you're one of the 3 worst teams in the NBA, then you get 2. So you get 1. So you can be one of those worser teams, but if you're one of the 3 worst teams of the 30 NBA franchises, you're not going to get 3 balls, you're going to get 2. So it's supposed to de-incentivize you from being a team that tanks. Now, so those are the teams that are considered relegated, are the teams that are the 3 worst in the NBA. The number 9 and number 10 play-in seeds in each conference will receive 2 lottery balls, while the losers of the number 7 versus number 8 play-in games will receive 1 lottery ball each. So that's how it breaks down. And the lottery balls allocated to all 16 participating teams will be drawn to determine the order of the selection for the first 16 picks in the first round of the NBA draft. Now, the pick floor, which was something that confused me a little bit, I think this explains it better. Each draft relegated team, which are those 3 worst teams in the NBA, each of those relegated teams will receive at worst the number 12 pick in the NBA draft. So they will not get 13 through 16. All other lottery teams can fall as far as the number 16. So there is a pick floor for those relegated 3 worst teams in the NBA. The pick restrictions: no team's pick will be permitted to be the first pick in 2 consecutive NBA drafts, which Dave talked about, or a top 5 pick in 3 consecutive NBA drafts, which Dave also mentioned. These restrictions will apply only to each team's own pick, without regard to whether that pick has been retained by the team or traded and thus held by another team. So these restrictions will apply only to each team's own pick. So if you trade, then we're not talking about that. Now, pick protection: teams will be unable to attain top 12 through top 15 protections to newly traded draft picks. So if it's happened anytime after they adopted this rule, which was yesterday, Thursday, May 28th, anything made after Thursday, May 28th in the adoption of the 3-2-1 lottery, you cannot protect top 12 through top 15 picks. Discipline: the league will have expanded disciplinary authority to address the tanking, which we mentioned. They can reduce a team's lottery odds so they can take balls away. They can modify a team's draft position, which I find interesting. Okay, so if they take balls away and the team still has a great draft position, what are they, what does that modification look like? How far can they drop a team? And they can impose significant fines on a team. So I find this to be interesting here as we break it down even more. And I think the NBA did a great job of really assessing what 3-2-1 means and how they're essentially relegating the teams, Dave. They're saying, hey, if you're one of the three worst, you didn't make the play-in tournament, you didn't make the playoffs at all, so you're in that 11 to 15 range in either the East or the West. If you're one of those three worst, you get 2 balls. If you're anybody else that falls within that, you get 3 balls. So if you're the 4th worst team, the 5th worst team in the NBA, you get 3 balls. So what if that team tanked, Dave? They just happen to win a game or 2 more. They're still going to be in good footing. But then they're also saying to the teams that are in that 7, 8, 9, 10 play-in, hey, you might have made the playoffs or you might have made it into the play-in tournament, but you're still going to be a part of this thing. So I think that there's goodness there in saying if you were at the bottom of the East or the bottom of the West, but you made it to the postseason, you still have a place in the lottery. And then I think if you fall in that middle region, you're not the worst team. You didn't make the play-in tournament or the playoffs, but you're in that middle spot. I think right now, the teams with the best odds are the teams that aren't the worst, didn't make the postseason, but they fell somewhere in the middle.
Well, wait for this to happen. And I mean, this is really hard in the NBA, probably more so than it is in most other sports. But let's say a 9 or 10 team gets out of the play-in round and ends up going on a run and reaching the NBA Finals and winning the NBA title. They get their couple of balls and they end up with the number 1 pick. And like people will lose their mind if that ever happens.
But that's there.
That you're right, exactly. So that'll be the thing that blows up this system one day, maybe. But I think that.
Are you saying my Raptors should be in the play-in 9-10 this upcoming season?
Well, here's the thing with the tanking stuff, right? Is so. Like you're going into the last weekend of the season, and yeah, you want to be 7 or 8 because that gives you another chance to get in, right? Yeah. But if you're, historically, those teams are not going to make deep runs in the playoffs. So are you better off being 9 or 10 and getting your 2 balls, or are you better off going into the last game of the season and you're tied for the 10 spot? Are you better off dropping that game and getting an extra ball being 11? Or I think some of those things, people are going to maybe take a look at over time. I think the intent of what they're doing is really clear and obvious, and hopefully it works out to achieve those ends. But I think time will tell a little bit.
Well, and I look at this too. The worst team in the NBA who had the most balls in the lottery before this 3-2-1 adoption wasn't getting the number 1 pick most of the time. I mean, we look at Washington, and they lucked out, right? The ball bounced in their favor this time around. But that's not always been the case, Dave. We have seen teams that, whether they tanked or not, were the worst teams in the NBA. Worst team, second worst team, and they weren't getting the number 1 pick. Sometimes they were falling pretty far down the lottery. So it's not like tanking necessarily always has helped these teams. Now the 3-2-1 system is going to try and alleviate it even more. But we've seen in NBA where the team gets the number 1 pick that maybe is that team that's on the cusp of being a pretty good team, maybe a great team that needs another piece, and they've gotten that other piece, and then the worst team in the NBA and the second worst team in the NBA were drafting behind that team. So it's not even like the current lottery system, if you did tank, was necessarily helping the worst teams in the NBA. Washington, like I said, they lucked out this time for 2026, but it hasn't always been that way, where we've seen the teams that need the most help, that need the draft the most, not necessarily get the number 1 pick, and the number 1 pick instead going to a team who's a spot or 2 away from making a run in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, and then the other side of that coin too is, I mean, drafting for all, for all the hype and everything, it's not an exact science either,
Right.
right? We talked about Brunson's second round pick. Most people will tell you Jokic is the best player in the world. He's a second round pick. Um, the Spurs, they got lucky because they got the consecutives with Robinson and Duncan back in the day. But, Ginobili was the third part of that, that tricycle, and he was a second round pick. Um, so I think you can take a look through the list of first round picks. You have your guys like your Wembanyama and your LeBron James, your guys that were surefire can't miss number one picks.
Yep.
But for every one of those guys, there's been two or three guys. My Sixers had under this system they wouldn't have had back to back one picks. They had Ben Simmons and Fultz back to back, and Simmons for a while was a solid NBA player, but Markelle Fultz has been pretty much a non-entity. And meanwhile, guys that have been picked lower in the draft have emerged to be all league to Hall of Fame caliber players. So I think for as much as we get wrapped up in number one pick versus number two and all that, um, it it also comes down to ability to evaluate players and ability to develop talent.
Yep.
I think that that has been and is going to continue to be um, just as important or more important than where you actually slot in the draft. With the exception of when you get the generational guys like the Wemby and you know Flag was the clear number one guy this past year and everything. So um, you know that's really going to be where where teams really make their money.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it comes down, and it's with any sport, right? It comes down to your scouting department. It comes down to how well you know what's out there and what you see in them and what's going to fit your system and what's going to make sense for you. And it's not just the NBA, it's the NFL, it's Major League Baseball. I mean, is the top prospect in Major League Baseball or the NFL draft always going to be the guy? Yeah, sometimes you get a Peyton Manning. Sometimes you get a 6th-round compensatory pick and it's Tom Brady, right? And how many times have we had number 1 overall picks in the NBA and they don't pan out? So, it to somebody saying Wembanyama, we can say Kwame Brown. I mean, there's gonna be those picks where it doesn't work out. Michael Olowokandi and so on and so forth. So it does come down to assessing it, and I think the Knicks have done a fantastic job of saying, yeah, we got our Nova Knicks, but most of the 2 out of 3 of those guys was not drafted in the top 5, and none of those guys were drafted number 1 overall. So I think that says something. So to get back to the Knicks, you and I have been talking about it off the air. We were texting about it last night. You believe that the Knicks can match up with the Spurs better than they can with the Thunder. But we've also seen the Thunder lose by 20 plus multiple times in this series with the Spurs. Have you changed your mind at all that the Knicks can match up with either one of these teams well? Or do you think the Knicks need the Spurs to be the team that moves on?
I think the Knicks have a lot better chance against the Spurs. A couple reasons. The experience gaps and haven't been tested under fire. Although the Spurs they're growing up on that front like rapidly. I think that Oklahoma City defensively is like next level elite, and I think they are really well equipped to take away the things that have been going well for the Knicks, disrupt their ball movement and their pace and their execution and whatnot. So I think and bottom line, I think Oklahoma City is the best team of the remaining teams. The Spurs present unique problems for the Thunder, especially the Thunder shorthanded without Jalen Williams and Mitchell. Those guys either being out or being limited. That puts more ball handling responsibility and playmaking responsibility on SGA, who really hasn't had a very good series. He's been inefficient and really hasn't had the big game except for maybe game two, and even in that one, he wasn't super efficient. Um, so I think the Spurs present unique matchup and tactical issues that create problems for the Thunder that I don't think the Knicks really replicate because the big thing with the Spurs is Wemby takes away, covers up for a lot of defensive mistakes, so that allows them to be really aggressive. Especially with the Thunder being a little bit undermanned right now. Um, I think Wemby's presence has really um, created a problem and has even back to regular season in won 4 out of 5. So that's been like one of those matchup things, I think. Um, bigger context and everything. I think with the Knicks, I think San Antonio is a better matchup for the Knicks than Oklahoma City would be. I think if it's OKC Knicks, I think the Thunder, unless Danhausen curses them, I think the Thunder, would be a solid favorite against the Knicks. I think the Spurs probably are a slight favorite to a pick-em series. Like I think Knicks Spurs, fairly even series.
What makes you believe that? I mean, I know you just gave a lot of points here on why you believe the Spurs would be a better series with the Knicks, but what makes you believe if Wemby, and you and I were talking about this off the air, if Wemby can command so much to him, which opens up the offense for other people for San Antonio, and Wemby is this, giant. I mean, he is today's NBA, right? He's a giant who can dribble. He's a giant who could shoot threes. He's a giant who's going to put the ball on the floor, and he's going to come after you, and he doesn't care if he's going to go from the three-point line and go right into the basket. I mean, this is not what we saw when I was growing up as a kid. We looked at a guy like Wemby. I mean, you look at the big men that the Spurs had before. David Robinson, underneath. Tim Duncan, underneath. Wemby, wherever he needs to be. But if he's commanding so much when it comes to a team's defense, and then on the other side, defensively, when he is your last line of defense, and he's going to attack you and make it really difficult at the rim, or if he's going to be that thing that maybe you don't want to go in and subject yourself to, that it allows other people to get better defensively to work around him. He is that nucleus, right, of the team. So if they cheat toward him when they're on defense, he opens up people's offense. And then if he's that line of defense that's going to be there for you to not put people around the basket, then he's going to help you there as well to open up other people to be more effective defensively because there is so much focus. If he's the focus offensively and defensively, how do the Knicks respond to that? Do the Knicks have anyone or a group of gentlemen that can respond to a Victor Wembanyama?
Well, I think the one thing is the Robinson injury is something to keep a little bit of tabs on.
Yeah. He said he's going to try. I guess
he's
going to try to play with the pinky injury. They said he was out, and now there's report this morning that he's going to try to push himself to play. So,
yeah, that'll be a something to keep an eye on because it's a little bit like the Thunder have gotten at times. The Thunder have been more effective with a guy like Hartenstein than someone like Holmgren, right? Because like Wemby, for as good as he is, he's still got a lot of there's still a lot of untapped potential in that guy. Like his post-up game, and he's going to get stronger and more physical as he gets older. Those things are still kind of under development. So for as good as he is now, it's scary how good he can be like 2, 3, 4 years down the road as long as he stays healthy. The Knicks make like a guy like Robinson, if he gets physical and kind of create problems for Wemby in that respect, or the flip side of that, the Thunder have had stretches when the Thunder have played well in this series. They've schemed a little bit to where they've been able to pull Wemby away from the basket a little bit, which has opened up, the opportunity to get to the rim and kind of spread the offense a little bit. So I think the Knicks, the way they've been playing with their ball movement and whatnot, I think that's one of the things that I would look for them to try to do is pull Wemby away from a lot of the help situations, to open the lane up for Brunson. And with their ball movement and their spacing, try to pull Wemby into disadvantageous positions defensively to where they can attack and score or attack and kick to open shooters. And again, at the end of the day, it comes down to you got to make shots too, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, are we looking at, when we look at the Thunder and we look at the Knicks, are the Knicks more down and dirty? Are the Knicks more physical? Are they more scrappy than the Thunder's defense? I mean, you talk about the Thunder and you've given credit to their defense, but are the Knicks more of that, old school physical, bring it to us and we're going to make you pay, or we're going to just come at you and go take it ourselves? I mean, do you think the Knicks bring a physicality that if they were to face the Spurs is even more physical, more let's go a bunch of rounds in the ring than the Thunder are going to give them?
Perhaps. I think one of the things that you got to be concerned with if you're a Spurs fan is, like, especially early in the series, Castle was turning the ball over like crazy, and they've had a turnover issue. And the thing that kind of allowed them to break from the Thunder last night was that they didn't turn the ball over. That was really one of the few games in this series where turnovers haven't been a problem for the Spurs. So, I think the Knicks defensively are your characterization is probably pretty accurate. I think that they're probably not as suffocating as the Thunder, but maybe a little bit more physical. And I think specific to trying to minimize Wemby's effect on the Spurs offense, I think that physicality, could and very likely will come into play, if that ends up being the finals matchup.
Yeah, I mean, in Mitchell Robinson, to mention him again for the Knicks, and talking about physicality, his pinky, he did have surgery on his broken right pinky finger. So not only was it bothering him, but he had surgery, but he still plans to play with a brace on his hand. So we'll see what that looks like. I mean, listen, to Mitchell, if you're out here watching and listening somewhere in this world, I would say to you, Mitchell, if I were in your case, I would play if, like, my right arm was broken off. So, I mean, the NBA Finals is something you have no guarantee you're going to get back to. So I know, obviously, you got to take care of your health and take care of the longevity of your body. But you've had surgery. If you can put a brace on it and go out there and do it, I mean, listen, I would say even if it's for a few minutes at a time, or they got to kind of change the way they scheme for you, I would still like to see the full Knicks go out there. You mentioned something about Wemby. You said Wemby's early on in his career, and he only stands to get better. Maybe he puts on some more muscle, finds out some more things about his game. He's a young player. I mean, is this the best time to play Wemby, essentially? Because I agree with where you were going with this, if this is where you're going with this. It's kind of like if he is Superman, but he doesn't know he can fly yet, or he doesn't know he has X-ray vision. Is this the best time to play Victor Wembanyama, to do it this early in the career of him? Because he's only going to get better. He's only going to be more difficult to get through. Even though he's as good as he is, going off your point, Dave, if Superman doesn't know all of his power set yet, is this the right time to face Superman?
Yeah, I think so. And it's interesting how quickly things turn because, a year ago and then through most of this season, we're talking about how the Thunder are going to be the team to beat in the league for the next, they've got all their young talent locked up, and, for the next 5, 7, 10 years, they're going to be in a conversation as championship contenders. And now you're looking at it and this is why I think Game 7 is such a big game from a legacy standpoint for SGA, right? The number of guys that have been back-to-back MVPs, and he's got a championship, but I also think that the basketball world doesn't see him. There's only like 4 other guards in NBA history that have been back-to-back MVPs. I think it's like Nash, Jordan, Curry, maybe. The last one is escaping me right off the top of my head. Oh, Magic, right? So, so that's the company that he's in from a recognition and standpoint, recognition standpoint. But I don't think anybody views SGA on that level,
Yeah.
like the sports world at large. So I think that for his legacy, and here and now he's playing for a championship but for his legacy, um, you know, their ability to overcome the Spurs and potentially tack another championship on, I think is huge for SGA's legacy. But that turning that back to your point, if the Spurs get by them now we might be in a situation where it's the Thunder looking up at the Spurs for the next, for the foreseeable future, the next few years, along with the rest of the league, especially if the Spurs, manage to win Game 7 and then knock off the Knicks. You know, they're all of a sudden you're looking at them in a position like we're looking at the Thunder a year ago. Like this team is going to be the team to beat, for the foreseeable future. At least until they have to start dealing with like salary cap issues and being able to retain their guys and everything. But I think coming into this year, I think the thought was that the Spurs are a couple of years away. Um, making the playoffs would be a great accomplishment this year, and now they're in the finals. And okay, whatever happens, the Spurs have exceeded expectation, and they're farther ahead than I think most people thought they would be on the growth curve. So for the Thunder, the team that that we think is going to be in the conversation for the foreseeable future, all of a sudden, if you lose Game 7, now you could be looking up at Wemby and looking up at the Spurs because they're, presumably, as long as the thing that you can't predict. I mean, we said this back in the day when the Oklahoma City Thunder got to the finals and lost when they had Durant and Harden and Westbrook. And this is going to be a team for the team to beat in the league for the next decade. And then things have a way of happening, whether it be injuries, trades, salary cap issues, those kind of things. Things have a way of happening to where that doesn't always materialize. So on the one hand, you're the Spurs. You're thinking, we got great opportunity, but whatever happens, we should be back here. I mean, Thunder, if they lose, last year we thought they're going to be right there, and now all of a sudden they're not the team to beat over the next, 2, 3, 5, 7 years. They're looking up to the Spurs, so definitely you want to get Wemby now because they're going to just keep getting better.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing too is you look at this team and how far they've gotten, how much they've pushed the arguable best team in the NBA of 30 franchises in the Thunder and say, okay, what can they add in the offseason? What can they go after? What can they do draft-wise? If the Spurs, not only Victor Wembanyama getting better, but if they look back at this and they don't win the NBA Finals or they don't make it to the NBA Finals and they say, okay, we know that we have a glaring issue here, so let's bring this in, then, how much better do they get if they bring in a piece or two and find those missing elements that didn't help them beat the Thunder or didn't help them beat the Knicks if they happen to not win moving forward. Now, you mentioned the two injuries that are going on with the Thunder, AJ Mitchell as well as Jalen Williams. These are not only injuries to players on the team that they can lean on at times. They have 5 players that average double figures in scoring, and these gentlemen, Mitchell and Williams, are 2 of those 5 players, and they're in the top 4. They're only behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren on the Thunder as far as points per game, with Mitchell averaging 15.1 to Holmgren's 15.7, and right behind him, Williams with 14.4. So we're not talking about losing somebody off the bench that is going to, bring you a few points here and there, or someone who's going to play sparing minutes but's a good utility guy. We're talking about guys that are combining for almost 30 points a game. And what did they lose by yesterday? Almost 30 points in that game, in Game 6 to the Spurs. So we're not just talking about loss that's hurting them in some areas for certain specific things. We're talking about loss that is affecting the point differential, and in the case of them combined together, really the actual differential of Game 6, which is the missing the output of Mitchell and Williams. So what do they do as they move forward here, Dave? They're hoping to have these guys back for Game 7 because it's do or die, and then they're definitely going to need them for the NBA Finals. going up against the Knicks if that were to happen for the Thunder. So I'm going to ask you two things. Can they defeat the Spurs without Mitchell and Williams in Game 7 is one. And two is, if you had to choose and you can only have one of them, which one would you think the Thunder need the most, Williams or Mitchell?
Well, I'll take the second part of that first. I think that if you knew that they're going to be at full strength, right? So, which is not the case, right? So it's kind of a hypothetical question, because either or both plays, it's highly. I mean, Williams played a little last night, was not effective.
Yeah.
So if you could say I could have one or the other, and they're at full strength, I think Williams is your guy. Like Williams at times has played like an elite. I mean, he was elite in their championship run last year at times. But Mitchell, certainly provides a dimension for him. The thing that both of those guys do is they can create their own and handle some of the ball handling load. So it takes some of that at different times, different periods of the game, takes some of that responsibility away from Gilgeous-Alexander, so he doesn't have to be that guy from start to finish. And it allows him to play off the ball a little bit and take some of the ball handling and creating for others' responsibilities away from him. As far as how they overcome that, like first part of your question, if you go back a couple of games, they had something like 74, 76 points of bench scoring. So I think, the Thunder have done a pretty good job of like establishing a deep rotation and in getting bench contributions, like kind of if you go over the course of the whole season. Typically you get in postseasons, rotation shorten and all that. But I think in OKC's case, the fact that they've played a lot of guys in key minutes, like McCain, it pains me that the Sixers traded him for nothing. Like he's had games where he's shouldered a big part of the offensive load, and they slid him into the starting lineup recently and all that. Yeah. Caruso has been another guy that, at times in this series and times early in the playoffs, like he's picked up some of that scoring load and that offensive load. So, I think if they don't get much or they don't get anything out of Williams and or Mitchell, I think then it comes back to to their bench and their depth of who's going to step up to, kind of fill that void.
Well, can I make a note of this, though? If the Thunder don't have Jalen Williams, they still have Jalen Williams. Spelled differently, but They do have two Jalen Williamses. They have Jalen that we're talking about here, which is Jalen, who is a number 8 and a guard, but they have a forward who wears number 6, who's Jaylin. So if they don't have Mitchell, they don't have Mitchell. But if they don't have Jalen Williams, Dave, they still have a Jalen Williams.
True, but different game, different skill set and everything. But yeah,
it's just very interesting how that is kind of there as a note to make. I do want to make a final point here, though. As we look at Game 7, let's make a prediction here. So we know that Game 7 is upon us. We know that it's happening. I'm not surprised. I think you and I thought this thing would go 6 at worst, and 7. 7 is the farthest it can go, but we thought it would go 6 or 7. I was definitely living in that world, and I think you were too. We know that Saturday, May 30th, it's at 8 p.m. Eastern time on NBC and on Peacock, the streaming service, which is obviously connected to NBC, that we're going to be able to watch this game. All eyes are going to be there. Okay, the Knicks are hanging out. They're waiting to see who their opponent's going to be, and we're going to know by a little bit after, somewhere around 11 p.m., maybe a little bit after 11 p.m. Eastern time. So, feet to the fire, Dave. We're in Oklahoma City. Is it the Thunder or the Spurs that will face the Knicks?
I think at the end of the day, it's the Thunder.
Okay. All right. If they were playing in San Antonio with those nuns in the stands, I may have to say San Antonio, but I'm going to say, I think this series is more nostalgic if it's Spurs Knicks. I'm going to agree with you and say Thunder. I think the Thunder are going to get it done, but I'm going to pick the Thunder to do this. I think the Spurs have been incredible. I think the West and the entire NBA should take note of where the Spurs are at, especially if they get another piece or two and their scouts continue to be smart, because it's not just Wemby by himself. But I'm going to say Thunder and Knicks. The last point that I'm going to ask Dave for you to make here, we've talked about what's the better matchup for the Knicks. And you've said it's the Spurs, not the Thunder. But are the Knicks not helped by the fact that once again, they sweep through a series and they've been sitting and they've been waiting and rehabbing and ice bathing and rubbing of the ankles. So they got time. They got something that not everybody gets, and that is the wonderful time. Because this series has gone 7, are the Knicks not helped either way that these two teams have beat the heck out of each other?
Yeah, I think they're helped. I don't think they're helped to the same extent that they were in the last couple of rounds.
Okay.
If you go back, like Sixers had to win a game 7 on the road, turn around and play game 1 against the Knicks 2 days later. Same thing with the Cavaliers. Had to come, win game 7 on the road, turn around and play the Knicks 2 games later, and actually had the game in hand and before epic collapse. So I think that the difference now is that Game 7 is going to be on Saturday night. The finals don't start until Wednesday. So, whoever survives, Thunder or Spurs, they do have, they got 3 days in between to kind of reset their bearings and get locked in on the finals. So, advantage for the Knicks that they're going 7, for sure, but certainly not the same level, the same degree of advantage that they had in Game 1 in the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Since the finals are set up the way that they are, it's kind of like the farther you make it, the more you get a little bit of a buffer. You don't have that same buffer in other rounds that you do here, knowing that no matter who wins or when they win, that nothing starts until Wednesday, June 3rd. So even though we're going 7 games for the Thunder and the Spurs, they will have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday before. And whoever wins is going to play at home, because either one of them has a better record than the Knicks. So not only do they know that they're going to have 3 days in between, even though it's gone 7 games, they also know that they're the home team to start off the series, no matter which one of them wins as well. It's not like one of these teams wins and they're going to play on the road in Madison Square Garden. The Knicks got Game 3 no matter who takes this one. And with that being said, for DT and DP, as always, Dave Pasiak bringing the knowledge and the wisdom and the awesome conversation. Dave, without you, I would not feel as connected to the NBA or love it as much. As a kid, I loved the NBA, but it's changed over time, and sometimes the NBA is changing in a way that I didn't like. But because of you, there's been a timeless connection to it, so I fully blame you that I spend so much time on the NBA, and I want to thank you for it.
Oh yeah, I enjoy the conversation, and I think the NBA is at a great place right now with like the young talent in the league and everything. And people, especially like in college basketball areas like Syracuse, people like to crap on the NBA sometimes, but I think people that are crapping on the NBA aren't watching the NBA, because the crop of young players in the league has gone from being LeBron and KD and Curry's league to like this whole new face of players like SGA and Wemby and Brunson and Tyrese Maxey and Jokic, and the league's in a really good spot right now, I think. So, but enjoy the conversation, and hopefully we have a great Game 7.
Yeah, and Dave and I will know, no matter what's going to happen for the NBA Finals. We will know, just like you will know, before midnight, outside of double overtime. Maybe they'll go there again. But outside of that, we will know before midnight on Saturday, May 30th, who is moving on in June to the NBA Finals. Dave, in the meantime, have a wonderful weekend. We'll be talking with you soon. And, of course, ahead of the first game of the NBA Finals. And God bless to you and your family as always.
You too, Dan. Keep healing up, and we'll chat again soon.
Sounds good. I will, and I'll talk with you soon. And coming from Dave Pasiak, one more time, DT and DP, my better half of that segment, bringing you NBA analysis all throughout this NBA postseason. And, of course, talking about the lottery, we'll go into the draft, we'll go into free agency. Dave Pasiak is my resident guy when it comes to the basketball world. He's a longtime basketball head coach at the collegiate level, and he has been a great human being, a great leader, and loves helping out the youth in the future of America and this world. And, of course, He helps me out with being a great source of knowledge and wisdom when it comes to the NBA. I don't tell him what we're going to talk about ahead of time. I don't. So if he knows he knew we were going to talk about the Thunder versus the Spurs game 6 and probably talk about the Knicks a little bit, but he didn't know we were going to talk about the 3-2-1 lottery. He didn't know that I was going to ask him about Jalen Brunson and does he mean the same to that Wemby means to the Spurs and SGA means to the Thunder. Anytime I talk to Dave, I am throwing things out that he doesn't have a script for. And we don't write scripts here at Wake Up Call. I don't tell everybody, like, I might tell, if we're doing Commissioner Corner, I might tell the commissioners, hey, I'm going to speak with all of you about these national topics, which will include X, Y, and Z. And, but I'm not saying, here's this, here's your whole question, write down I might just give them this is the essence of where I'm going to go with this. I do want to talk about NIL and this and that, but we don't pre-script things. We don't pre-interview the interview. This is real on Wake Up Call. And whether it's something that I'm pre-recording like I had to do when I was out with my surgery and, didn't know if I was going to be able to sit for a couple hours and do the show, whether it's something pre-recorded or live, it is not a show that is scripted and set up a certain way. It's either a real conversation or it's no conversation. And the only time somebody in 22 years asked me to script something, my response to that was, no, thank you. Appreciate the offer, not going to take it. And that's not what we do here. So I got to give Dave credit because I am constantly just kind of going where my mind goes in the conversation. And Dave is always prepared. Doesn't matter what NBA team, who I'm talking about. There's 30 franchises. I could ask him about anything and he's going to have an answer for me. And so I got to give him the credit. And that's why I call him my better half, because he is a source of knowledge and wisdom that I cannot understate or underappreciate. And that's why I'm happy he's a part of the family. If you go to wakeupcalldt.com to our website and you look at the family that we have on Wake Up Call, he's part of that family. If you go and if you click on the tab, Our Team, it says we're a family here. And it has Brendan Murphy, it has Papa Joe, it has Isaac Elford, Jason Lucas, Ross Turetsky, and Dave Pasiak. And it says on there, Dave brings such depth of knowledge and wisdom in the basketball world at any level, contributing to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora with NBA coverage on free agency, trades, draft analysis, regular season, and postseason play. He's a collegiate basketball coach of over 30 years. I mean, that short description of him doesn't even do him the complete justice. He is someone I can lean on. No matter what I ask him, he's always got an answer. And that's to his credit that he continues to grow, to learn, and to evolve. And they say if we're not learning in the world, then we're dying. And Dave is always learning and gaining information and sharing that here on Wake Up Call, which is why I lean on him when it comes to anything I'm doing with the NBA, and really in general, just make sure that he's a part of what we have throughout the year, because he truly is an asset to Wake Up Call and to Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. And more than anything else, he's one of the best friends that I've had in the business. This can be a cold and dark place when we talk about the media, and Dave has been a bright light and a fantastic kind of light your way home type of person. So I can't love Dave enough on or off the air, and that's why I'm going to spend time giving him a long intro and a long outro, because he's earned it. I love you, Dave. We'll take a step aside for a fast break here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, and we'll wrap up today's broadcast of Wake Up Call and this week right after this.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Hi, this is Chris Rauda.
And Colleen Rakowski from Gray's Craze of Clay.
It's a fun, innovative, upscale catering solution. We've turned eating into a whole new experience. Each of our boards is packed with delicious mix of artisan cheeses. We use premium cured meats, fresh fruits, nuts, and all of the sweet touches that really bring out the best in every perfect bite.
We offer something as small as a grab and go that feeds 1, maybe 2 people, to our large board that can serve anywhere up to 25, 28 people. So we have the ability to really meet and hopefully exceed all of our customers' expectations when it comes to the different varieties of things that we have.
Charcuterie boards or boxes are healthy, fresh, delicious. They're made to order. We're baking the breads here daily. We're baking the cookies here daily. All of our dips are homemade, made in-house. All of our spreads are all made in-house.
When you open that board or box that we have delivered or you have picked up, we want you to know that it was made with care and designed to completely elevate your event, celebration, or meeting.
We've catered parties and events for up to 300 people. So if you're walking in to grab something for lunch or something for date night or movie night, that's great too. Our events go from you eating in the car on the way home to a catering event in a rehearsal dinner or cocktail hour or party.
When we do, again, know what the event is, specifically for a wedding, we like to schedule tastings so the bride and groom can come in and see what we have to offer, and we can then, as we talk, to try to understand what they're looking for, what the venue's like. We do like to have that one-on-one interaction when it comes to catering bigger events.
Our address is 4599 State Route 31, Suite 5, in Clay, New York. We're on the corner of Route 31 and Henry Clay at Clay Marketplace.
You can order on the phone by calling area code 315-409-4171 or online at gracecraze.com/clay-ny. Come visit us at Gray's Craze of Clay, New York,
where we want you to celebrate everything.
Hey everybody, this is Rockney Roberts from Willow Rock Brewing Company. We are here in Cicero at the Willow Rock Pizza Pub.
And I'm Kevin Williams, also from Willow Rock Brewing Company. Happy to be here and happy to be partnering with CNS and Dan Tortora.
You want some place where you can feel comfortable and hopefully ingratiate yourself with the community. And Kevin, he grew up right down the road from here. I grew up in Brewerton, so not too far away. We know the area, we know the people, they're great, and we were just really excited to be able to come to the area.
Yeah, and having the opportunity to meet some of these coaches, some of the people in general already, and seeing the CNS colors kind of around, and already partnering on a smaller level with individual teams really made this make sense to us to really formalize kind of a partnership with the school and get this rolling.
You know, Willow Rock to me has always been about high quality beverages, high quality experiences, and now high quality food in our pizza pub. You know, that was something new for us when we came to Cicero. Right from the drop, we knew we were going to have a focus on the highest quality food to go with our high quality beer. At the Willow Rock Pizza Pub, you're getting high quality, hand cut, top notch ingredients. We're open for lunch. That's a really important thing for us, is to be able to get that person in here like, hey, you only got 30 minutes for lunch, but we're gonna have something for you that you can get quickly and available to everybody.
Yeah, we wanted something that was just a little bit outside the box, a little bit outside of comfort zone, but still something that you could rely on to be consistent and easy to look at and easy to be like, oh, I can see myself eating this. I can see myself wanting to have that more than once. Eating a whole pizza like our beef on weck pizza, I've never seen one anywhere. It's just a great ideas, great inspiration across the board. We're their spot to stop. We're their friendly neighborhood watering hole, as well as pizza place and place to stop for a restaurant. Not just beer drinkers here. We've got wines, we got cocktails, we got non-alcoholic stuff for the kids.
The location is more important today than it ever has been before, and we're lucky enough to be here in Cicero. The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is a place where you can bring your family. You can come in, you can grab a soda, you can relax. You can come after a game, before a game, your parents, your grandparents. Our goal is to make sure that everyone's comfortable here. We want students, we want athletes, we want your coaches. It's going to be a good time. So come here, enjoy the high quality food, high quality beverage that we're going to offer to everybody. And hey, go North Stars.
We're so happy to have the North Stars. We are very much a kid-friendly establishment. We have tons of space outside for everybody to be playing outside, as well as listening to live music, enjoying some pizza.
The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is open 6 days a week here in Cicero. That is Tuesday through Sunday. And our website is willowrockbrew.com, and our socials are at Willow Rock Brew. So find us on the net, find us in person. We'll see you soon.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad, despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here. We just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing, and so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in. And then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. Everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and in those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community any way we can, and I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios, man, these shows, they go by so fast. It's like, how is the show even done? And not only is it past, and we've done our 2 hours, we've done over 2.5 hours here on the show, and it feels like the show just started this morning. We are on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. And on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com is where you'll find over 2,000 episodes of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So make sure you check us out there as well. And don't forget to download us by going to mixlr.com /WakeUpCallDT. Download and save and listen as we're back on MixLR internet streaming radio all around the world. And of course on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube, Podchaser. All you got to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And many thanks to all of our wonderful partners in Central and Upstate New York: Great Lakes Honda City, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Ma and Pa's, Myers Creek, the Baked Potato Express, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A Cicero, K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, Bryan's Landing, Gray's Craze of Clay, New York, Game Point Sports Complex, Chick-fil-A in DeWitt, Avicoli's Willow Rock Pizza Pub and the Willow Rock Brewing Company, K-9 Campground Dog Boarding, Mother's Cupboard, and oh yeah, our newest partner, celebrating them one more time.
Hi, this is Gina Husted. I'm part owner of Skippy's Ice Cream. The other half is my better half, Don Husted Jr. When somebody comes up to the truck and it's a family, it's nice that the older generation is nostalgic and they can tell the younger generation, back in my day, we used to have the truck around our neighborhood. So now you're lucky because the truck can come to your party, and you're lucky that this truck is at a festival and you're getting to buy the ice cream. And basically we're ice cream that comes to you now, specifically comes to you, not for you waiting for us, we're coming to you. We will do neighborhoods if you have a block party. We do birthdays, we do anniversaries, we do celebrations of life, we do wedding showers, we do festivals, we'll do corporate events, we have a lot of corporate picnics, we have family reunions, so it's a whole wide range of whatever party you have, we'd love to be at. We're so appreciative of the community, always coming up to us at festivals and calling us to have different events. We have a lot of return customers. We always have people coming up to our truck. We're always there for the community. We always try to give back to different organizations and fundraisers, and so I think the community sees that. We like to give back to them. This is where we live. This is where we were raised. This is where our kids were raised. So the community is very special to us. I mean, obviously we've lived here our whole lives, so it means a lot that they come up to our truck and that they choose us, because we're just there to please the community and deal with as many people as we can in this community, because this is, like I said, where we were born and raised. If you'd like to get in touch with Skippy's Ice Cream and have us at your next event, I would suggest using our email, skipthecake, SKIPTHECAKE, skipthecake@gmail.com. That's the fastest way to get a hold of us. It's the easiest way to get a hold of us, and that's going to get the fastest response. response from us. If you choose to call, if you don't have an email, then you can call 315-456-9750 and we'll be glad to get back to you as soon as we can. Skippy's Ice Cream, the original ice cream truck.
Wake Up Call is also proud to be the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining the broadcast here where sports meets life. You'll also find all of our content, over 150 episodes, including our newest episodes with Rachel Carey of the softball team that won back-to-back America East titles and went to the NCAAs, as well as with Corey Taylor, Binghamton baseball alum, celebrating his time at Binghamton and the history that they made in 2009, as well as talking about the 2026 team that has won back-to-back America East titles and is playing in the NCAAs once again, and that'll start today here on Friday, May 29th in Morgantown, West Virginia. You can find all of that content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. I want to thank you all for being a part of today's show and for navigating with me through this time period of surgery. I haven't had to have a lot of surgeries in my life. By the grace of God, I hope that I will not have to have any more from here. And I'm just very thankful and grateful, like I said before, for all the support that I've had, the love, all your kind messages, your prayers, more than anything else, and your hugs, your well wishes, and positive energy. So thank you. None of it goes unnoticed. I appreciate you all. Thank you to all the commissioners that did our Commissioner Corner series with me, including the ones we got to air last week and a little bit this week, to celebrate them and spotlight them, and the great help that it was for me as I was, obviously not feeling well. Well, I shouldn't say not feeling well, but as I was getting healthy over this last week from the surgery, on the mend, I want to thank the commissioners that were a part of the show and that gave me the opportunity to be able to provide something for you while I was on the mend. So I want to thank those commissioners and those conferences, and let me make sure that I do that right here before we hop out of today's broadcast. So many thanks to the commissioners that I got to speak with that helped to, give me the assistance this week. So much love to the commissioners that we got to talk with. I'll start with Bernadette McGlade, who is retiring from her post of 17 plus years with the A10. So having Bernadette on the show and celebrating the A10 for the first time ever here on Wake Up Call with a Commissioner Corner, for having returning commissioner on the broadcast who's no stranger to the show, Big Sky Commissioner Tom Wistersill, and for the first time ever making history with the Mountain West and having their commissioner, Gloria Navarez, on the broadcast. So I want to thank each and every single one of them. I want to thank you for navigating through this last week with me. And as I continue to be on the mend, your prayers and all of your positive energy continues to be helpful and much appreciated. And I send it right back to you as well. Thank you to the Baked Potato Express for the annoying moment of the week, to Chick-fil-A Cicero for lead, learn, evolve, ad-lib, and deliver, and to K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare for the top dog of the week, as well as to my guy Dave Pasiak, the better half of DT and DP, as we talked about the NBA postseason, the new 3-2-1 lottery that will be adopted in 2027 and at least be for 27, 28, and 29 drafts, and affecting obviously those seasons. I hope you have a beautiful and wonderful weekend and stay safe and stay healthy, and that you enjoy the blessing God gave you simply by waking us up this morning. Facebook, you'll find us at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. I would like to end today in a prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, I want to thank you for waking us up this morning. I want to thank you for waking up our loved ones, for giving us an opportunity at life from the beginning, as well as every single day since then. I pray that we all heal completely and for good, and no matter what, that we heal through you, and that we handle well whatever comes our way in and out of our control. May we be healthy, may we be safe, may we be happy, and may we be filled with all of your gifts to do your will first and be well second, but may they go hand in hand today, tonight, and so on, whether we're traveling, staying put, or both. And may our day and night and so on be long and fun and go by slowly in a great way. May all of our loved ones that have passed on be safe and sound in heaven with their loved ones and with you fully. May we be safe and sound with our loved ones here on earth and wherever we are. And may we get closer and closer to you every millisecond of a millisecond. May we just be getting started. May we not waste a moment. And may we all be connected even in death, because dying, Jesus, you destroyed our death, and in rising, you restored our life. May there be no devil, no evil, no demons, no darkness in anyone, anywhere, or anything. I rebuke them all. I cast them out. I bind them and send them to you, God. And may you only be with us, truly, inside and out, fully, to handle whatever life brings our way. May we achieve more than we could ever dream of. May we do what we love what we do, be surrounded by love, and give only love. God, may life continue to get better each and every moment, every millisecond of a millisecond. I love you dearly. I thank you. I appreciate you for helping me to be on the mend and to get the surgery that I needed. And I thank you for the love that surrounds me, God. And I thank you that you let me do what I love and love what I do. God, you are my all, my everything. I love you more than anything and anyone and anywhere. And in your precious name, Jesus, we pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, that this whole world and any world is Team God, stays Team God, and that we all find our way home someday, and that we make the most and make this place home right here and now. God bless. Amen. To you all, God bless, no stress. Do your best. From the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Stay well, everybody.